Welcome to another episode. I'm glad you could have been watching anything at this moment, but you chose to watch these videos that we're making. And I try to find people who are very interesting and their work is very interesting and things I think people are going to find, hey, you know what? This is a service I might need. Or, they might not know they need this, but, here we go. Anyway, I want to introduce my guest today.
I'm Mark Redlefsen. I work at SERVPRO of Northwest Brooklyn, Flatlands, Mill Basin, also SERVPRO of Forest Hills and Ridgewood, Queens.
Now, the average person is going to say, what is it? What exactly is SERVPRO? What do they do? Can you give them a synopsis?
Yeah. So in a quick blip, when someone sees something written more about SERVPRO, they might see things that just say cleaning, restoration, and reconstruction. Speaks to the core of the business. Say cleaning. I mean, are we a maintenance office company? No. We're hey, there's an emergency. We're around the 911 call type zone, if you ask me, for home disasters in the home, regards to, let's say, flooding, fire, things, water damage. There are things that are on an emergency basis that happen in people's lives. I could go over all of them and bore the viewers, but you can ask me piece by piece on the different services that we provide. But the pretty much people would know us from that world, from our commercials and our trucks for even around the times of hurricanes, based on the things we do in flooding. So I'll start there as a short. I want to use your time right and talk best about our SERVPRO and the things we do, but giving some air.
What's something that people need to know that they probably don't know when they purchase a house, stuff that could happen and how they can protect themselves?
Well, think about it like this, Events. If you're in real estate and you look at how much people pay for or invest in a house, they take a loan, they pay for it in cash. I think I'm fascinated with the fact that houses in the numbers are where people spend more of the money than they do on themselves, more on medical bills, more than on their car. So yet they treat it a little more casually when it comes to the darker side of events with homes. When it comes to new construction, it's fun. Everybody breaks out the checkbook and starts building decks. When it comes to emergencies or things that become problems in the home, they become maybe there's a dark cloud of either willful ignorance or they don't know what it is and they need to find out. So where SERVPRO shows up after someone calls us, we don't need them to go to school to call us to learn how to fix something in their home. But a lot of our business comes through people having a problem, calling for a flood in a basement, right? A fire, they've had a fire incident in their home, which opens up a lot of different areas of damage. When life disruption happens, the emotions are different and people panic. And I think from the technicians to someone like myself who deals with business owners and property managers, there has to be a professional mindset that, we got this. So on our SERVPRO corporate, we'll always say, like it never happened. And what people want is if they did have an incident where there was a fire or some kind of damage to their home, that when we step in, by the time the process is complete, it looks like it never happened. I don't want to oversimplify where it happens, but it's our ability to deal with the issue itself, insurance companies, specific entities around that damage, and possibly if they have to leave their home and move, our assistance in making that as painless and as frictionless as possible.
All right. What's the number one thing that you're seeing, or the number one thing people calling you that they need repairs for? I know most of the time it's the basement, but is there anything specific that you're seeing a lot of?
So when a lot of people, let's say a lot of people, let's just say homeowners in let's say the tri-state area beyond, when I say sewer drains back up, it's a plumbing issue that has home damage results. We get a lot of those types of calls. So they're always twofold: someone who didn't handle their plumbing, and then it becomes a secondary issue, which is sewage and waste in their basement on their premises. I mean, that's a prime driver of our business. If you think about floods that get exacerbated by hurricanes or any amount of just flooding and rain, that creeps into it. We're fixing a lot of that damage. I'll shift to something. There's an element of our business that people might call non-emergency. So non-emergency, I got a call yesterday about, let's say, deodorization or something where lead abate. There's different issues that we handle, but mold is that point between the first thing, which is an emergency, water sitting in a basement, all of which has not been dealt with maybe by the homeowner or the home has been left. And mold takes about 48 hours to colonize in a home. And when it does, it's a destructive force, not just to the property, but to people's health and the home value itself. And it's a larger process, a lot of moving parts to it with an inspection process, and a company certified to do that, right? And a lot of companies in the marketplace may or may not be able to do that, may have even taken on that type of work, I can't say, but SERVPRO prides itself in having the right certifications, employees with the right certifications and training, and the ability to complete a job.
So if someone were to have mold in their home, you guys can treat it basically professionally. Unlike some people might just spray bleach on it and call it a day, but you guys take it to a different level basically to cure it. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you're hearing. The thing for the viewers out there, when people, if you see more under New York state law, for instance, if you see more than 10 square feet of mold, it's something where you would need a mold inspector. The positive of that is it's a third party that steps in and assesses that you have it. You can verify, do I or do I not have mold, but then where do I have it? They would step in and do that. They, when they step aside, it's a point for a contractor like a SERVPRO to step in and do that. We execute a mold remediation project by trying to put the least life disruption, but the best protections in place. And that's putting up containment walls and having technicians that have experience to do that. So it's opening a mold job and closing it out so that that mold inspector that you had come in the first place can come in and close out that home and say it's mold free. It's a valuable process to have when, like you say, when you sell a home, where you see someone in transition of selling a home, the buyer needs to feel safe. They don't want to breathe, no mold in the lungs. Anyone can go to a website and find out the bad. Eliminating that with proper certification for a contractor is essential. People that know how to do it, have done it many times, and are not flying by faith.
All right. That's the thing. That's the key thing I want everybody to understand is pretty much you're doing the treatment, you have professionals doing the treatment, and the most important thing is pretty much you're not disturbing their lives, basically. That you're helping them with the whatever the situation is, and you do it, at a good whatever the time frame is that the job needs to get done. But more importantly, you're not disturbing their whole life. I think that's something people need to understand.
Yeah, and when a situation is bad, based on a number of circumstances, there could be in a home that's been left. It could be mold, it could be fire damage, and a number of items. If someone is vacating a home for a period of time, there's maybe a larger scope of work around treating property, removing property, moving property to another dwelling eventually, or eventually putting back after the home is restored. So big or small scope, we handle all of it.
All right. When we had met originally, you had told me about a service that you guys do, like there was some damage in the property and you were able to restore some paperwork and some documents and stuff like that. Did you want to, I think there was garments also that you were mentioning. Can you want to talk about that portion?
Yeah. So how big and how fast and how tactically can a company attack something where, let's say it's an accounting firm, a big one. They have a basement full of documents that are still viable and need to be protected. And it's so many that they can't digitize everything. Well, if they have this basement and it was flooded during a storm, what do you do with that if they're still accountable for the documents? We have a process on document restoration, which involves like giant freezers, like the size of a truck. We can get that type of equipment. For SERVPRO has over 1,500 offices throughout the country, over 10,000 employees throughout the country. There are resources and there's the proper equipment for a job like that. So taking documents, for instance, drying them out in a freezer, drying them to a point where we would put them in plastic so people can still read page for page, PDF file for PDF file, page for page. It's a long, big process, but it can be done. And the people that need it put that a lot of times in their insurance policies.
Okay. One of the things I'm thinking, not just for businesses, but for other people who collect stuff like comic books, magazines, records, and stuff like that, this might be something that they might want to look into also, just in case. If you have that in your basement or something like that, something that can be restored, maybe this company could probably help you with this.
And SERVPRO digs deep in a lot of areas, because what we have in our franchise, for instance, from Brooklyn to Queens and all the areas we can attack, if we had to bring in other resources to get to a situation, we will. So more specifically, let's say there's, I don't know, a mudslide that goes into a data center, and that data center is incapacitated. You don't just leave it, right? Somebody wants all the computers and circuitry to be cleaned. Is that possible? We do that. We bring in specialists to do that type of work so that it can be done in big projects. On our website for our SERVPRO and also corporate, there's some great video documentation of how that's done. So I entreat people to do that. I'm happy to send you videos too, Evans.
What's the website so people can look into it?
SERVPRO nwbrooklyn.com. That could be a good place to start. Start there, and you can dig around for different documentation on different projects we've done. And I like your questions, but I think people like stories. I mean, if you go to the main SERVPRO website, the corporate website, you can see work we've done on, let's say, the space shuttle.
Okay.
In Alabama. By the way, I got my glasses off on this, so I just took them off.
We noticed.
So
you're being cool by putting them back on.
So
give the people what they want.
We've done, so different. We just did a work on a mold job in a church in Manhattan that's probably like 200 years old. The significant thing to think about that is when you're dealing with relics, documents, artifacts, and the protective religious identity of a property, how do you protect that? You got to have a lot of guys with a lot of experience to do that. And we do that type of work. And in that particular case, it was a mold job. But anything that faces a physical challenge, we have not just I'd say the knowledge share to do, but the equipment and the training. That's the one thing I like about SERVPRO. You're only as good as your franchise. Our franchise out of Northwest Brooklyn, extending to the properties I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. It's run by a gentleman named Robert Allen, who went to St. John's like me, for what that's worth. And the way he approaches it is, if his name is not attached to projects that are completed properly, the SERVPRO name can't save that. You can hurt or help yourself by the type of work that you do. And I like the work we do, and I also like the resources that SERVPRO makes available to us.
Well, it's good that you said that. It's pretty much anything that you're doing in life, you have to give you 100%. You have to love what you're doing. You have to like the environment you're in. And Mark, pretty much, he kind of exemplifies that. What more do they need to know about you, your service, and how they can reach you?
So reaching me personally on any question, there's no good or bad one. I'm at 347-369-0006. An email for me would be mark@servpronwb.com, SERVPRONWB.com. For the emergency, you don't need to talk to me on an emergency. If you're a homeowner and you want us on the case, that's 718-522-4400. So you can start with me if you'd like to, but you'll get that phone number on there. But I try to get about and meet people like yourself that are, we call them centers of influence, right? Don't get a big head about that. But a lot of the, like property managers, insurance people, realtors, also people that are involved in plumbing, construction. I really spend my time in the world that affects. But a question for me is, hey, do we do residential as bread and butter? I mean, it's very much where we spend a lot of our time. We just think we should be doing both because we have the capacity, we have the ability to do it. And makes my job easy when I meet someone who's a property owner and they say, a property manager, for instance, and they say, "Oh, you guys came to my house once and it was wonderful." Really helps feather the bed.
All right. So last statement, I guess we can say, is pretty much, what's something people don't know about your service, or something that you want to pretty much calm their fears about, that they should know, or you just want to calm their fears? What's something you want to end this with?
So confidence is only because I would say competence, right? You can't, one builds the other. But a lot of that's from the certifications that we have in place that we strictly apply to the workforce. So when you look at what you want out of, Better Business Bureau rating is nice, but an IICRC certification for a business that deals in water damage and fire damage and any type of restoration is primary. Things that I say in terms of fear, when men come working and they come to your house and you don't know what they're all about, our SERVPRO has highest levels of, let's say, insurance and certifications. We get asked for them when we engage with, let's say, a property management company that says, bear all your financials and your certifications. It's not a difficult task for us to do. I like the challenge. I once asked someone at a property management company, what do you, when you send out these very stringent guidelines to companies, what usually happens? The honest answer was, they say most of them don't send the paperwork back, so they don't end up doing business with us. When we do paperwork exchange, it's very specific, and they're very much around the things that we can help people with. And if you're not going to be specific and professional about your business, maybe you're a hobbyist. And I like to think that our SERVPRO is full-time dedicated, in the business, on the business, and we're only as good as, like I say, our reputation and the energy that we put into what we do.
You heard it from the horse's mouth. If you have any questions regarding anything regarding SERVPRO or the services that they provide, feel free to reach out to Mark. There's no dumb question. Pretty much the purpose of these videos is to educate you, entertain you. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to help you with whatever you're looking for. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And feel free to tell all your friends and family about the video series. And if you have any questions, again, do not hesitate. Call us, text us, send a carrier pigeon. You can reach us if you need to find us. On that note, I'm going to say good day, good night, goodbye.